Alright, the next one in line is this maple here. As you can see, it curves back that way. It's got some lean going off to the left. I really don't want to knock it down into that, although it would go down through, but I've got my log splitter and my snowmobile and kayaks and stuff over there. So I just hooked the come along up over there. Gonna get Lori to pull on that. It's getting breezy now, though. I don't really like cutting trees when it's getting windy, but we'll take this one down and then start cleaning up out here. It's getting kind of crazy.
I'll get the knots cut while Mama puts tension on the cable. The depth of the notch and the amount of tension needed is determined by the shape of the tree and the direction we need to steer it in. Once the back cut is started, the tree will surrender to the tension on the cable and everything goes according to plan. A good come-along is worth its weight in gold out here, man.
There's a tree, there's a tripod. I'm gonna have to cut this one up high because they turn into one stump from here down, so I don't need to cable this one at all. I'll put it down right there and then get these cut up. That ought to do it for today. Well, we're getting a little bit more sun in the yard. Little bit. But once these pines come down, these here make a big difference. There's going to be a lot of firewood.
We alternate between the tree cutting and the cleanup. We consolidate the firewood and clear the ground of all the brush and entanglements. It can get pretty dangerous otherwise. The old Honda is just a ticket for this job, especially now that we have the extra acreage and a place to haul the brush to.
Well, up until now, I had to burn all the brush. Now, don't get me wrong, I like burning brush, but I prefer to take it out in the woods, put it all in one spot like this, not all helter-skelter. And then the little birds, like the juncos and the chickadees, they take refuge in it in wintertime. And it's good. And then it all just decomposes and goes back to Mother Earth. So, now that we got the acreage, I can do this. Gets it right out of the yard, out from underfoot. And it's kind of fun. It's fun doing this. See, right now, I would be in full sun once those pines are gone. If I take those other pines down, those other pines there, that ash tree, that tall maple, I'd be in the sun probably about 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning. Okay, now that sun's going to track right like this. So this group of pines is going to come out, that ash tree, eventually those pines. If the gardens are over here, then the workshop is over there, and the solar is maybe right behind the garden. I think it's going to be fine. I do.
We'll have full sun 8-9 hours a day.
Where the snowmobile is going to be a spot to park the vehicles. We're going to drive in that driveway and then back in and park. So if we put the workshop just this side of that, you know.
Yeah, this is already in full sun here.
It is.
So when those trees are gone, all that will be a nice place for a garden.
Excellent. Leave that big rock and put some daffodils or something in front of it.
Yeah, I like that.
I knew you would.
We get out on the new property every chance we can so that we can start marking the boundaries. But it's not as simple as it sounds. Going in a straight line while trying to decipher a 200-year-old deed, well. On the north byland, what the heck does that mean?
On the north by land of S. Barney to the first cross wall. Thence on the east by said cross wall to a large rock.
There's a large rock there. There's a large rock there. There's a large rock right there. There's a large rock right there.
This is the Granite State. There's large rocks everywhere. It doesn't even give dimensions. Easterly to the big rock. What does it say after the large rock?
Thence, on the south by land, now or formerly of S.N. Ball, to corner on the opposite side. To a corner on the opposite side.
Opposite side of what?
No, I think we'll just mark this last spot, call it quits, and finish out the day cutting trees. Yeah, let's just do that. Dragging the brush back here is making quite a road, isn't it? Yeah. Getting quite a trail going through here.
It's been awesome having the land, having a place where we could drag the brush, and some old punky logs and stuff like that. Fantastic.
Yeah. Dragging the brush really cleans up the ground. I've been making some trails out there. This goes over here to the brush pile. Quite a pile going. When you stack it with all the butt ends facing one way, it compresses down a lot easier. There's a lot of brush in there.
Then when I come back in a few more days, that'll compress. But if you put it in two different directions, it doesn't compress very well. And then in the winter time, there'll be all kinds of birds and everything in there. I like that.
See, I made this so I can drive right in, unhook, put the brush there, then I got like a little cul-de-sac that goes right around, and I drive back and head back to the camp.
Then over here, I started making some trail. Show ya.
So I came in and I cleaned up all the old logs and crap that were across the trail. Some deer track right there. And I cleaned up the trail so I can get my ATV back in here. Huh.
I do a little bit at a time. You know, I work on the firewood, I cut trees, I work on the camp, I work on my stone wall. I bounce back and forth, and like Lori will say, well, supper's gonna be ready in like a half an hour. So I'll come out with my weed whacker or my chainsaw and work on trails or work on my stone wall, or burn up 20 minutes or so, getting something accomplished. And it adds up. Like I talked in my other video a while back about accumulation. Do a little at a time, here and there. It adds up.
Isn't this just gorgeous? Isn't it? I mean, the woods are so much prettier than they were in New York. And quiet. I mean, listen. You hear the wind in the trees, and that is it, man. That is it.
And it was so flat in New York that it was noisy all the time. I was so discontented with that. I guess you can tell my emotion.
Now this stone wall here, it'll run down a long, long ways, and then there's another stone wall over there, and these two will taper, and they get closer and closer and closer and closer together, and way, 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 way down there is an old foundation of a barn.
And that barn was still standing when I was a kid, when I was a little boy. It was there, standing there, and then it collapsed when I was a little boy as well. But these two stone walls, they bottleneck down, and they get about, I don't know, maybe 8 or 10 feet apart or less, I forget. But they go right down to that barn. So I'm assuming it was done on purpose so the farmer could round up his cattle there and just funnel them down to the barn. Either that or they were trying to run two parallel lines and messed up. And they weren't going to move all those rocks to put them in the right spot.
Well, folks, words can't describe how good it feels to finally own this land. All my life, this camp has been my favorite place in the world. It was my dad's favorite place. He worked full-time at a job he hated, and every chance that he could, he would pack up the family and come up here, and we'd spend a weekend or an occasional week or two throughout the summer. It was heaven to me. To escape the city and all that crap and all the stress and come up here was absolute heaven to me. So when I was a little boy, I always said, when I grow up, I'm going to live up here. And of course, I got all the discouraging words thrown at me, you can't do that. How in the world are you going to do that? How are you going to make a living up there, etc., etc. I never understood that because this whole mountainside is dotted with old foundations from old homesteads where people lived up here. They lived up here and they farmed up here, and that was long before anybody had a chainsaw or LED lighting or a cell phone. So to make it sound so impossible to live here never made any sense to me. So now we live here. We've been here over a year. Pretty amazing. What a sense of accomplishment I feel from all of this. But even more so, about 45 years ago, I sat on the steps of this camp. My buddy Roger and I used to play in this camp after it was abandoned. We were sitting on the steps, and I was reading this book out loud to him, How to Live in the Woods on Pennies a Day. And I looked up at the camp and I said, one of these days I'm going to own this, and I'm going to open it up and I'm going to do some farming and stuff like that. You know how kids dream and talk about their dreams. So now, at the age of 55, I finally own it. It's pretty remarkable when you think about it. Talk about staying focused and staying positive. Your attitude will make you or break you. You know the people that always say, I can't do this and I can't do that and I can't and I won't and I can't. Well, they can't do shit, right? And then the people that are really positive and don't give up, they achieve a lot. It's really unbelievable. So it's so cool that so many years ago I said I would own this land. And when I contacted Joe and he said he didn't want to sell it, and I said I was going to own this land, and then 4 years after that initial phone call, I own the land. So here I am sitting on the foundation with the same old book. And we are underway. We are cutting trees. We're making room for our gardens and our chicken coop and solar power and working our butts off, but we are doing it, and it's all coming together little by little. It's a tremendous undertaking. But it would never happen if we didn't just keep pushing forward. It just goes to show, folks, life is simply what you make of it. So live now and live it up. God bless.